Okay, let's open the meeting. The December meeting 2017 of the Southampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals. A couple changes in the agenda. Case number 2978 DPD Southampton. We were going to have a decision to that, but we won't have that decision until January. On the pending cases, 2983, the Beechwood Latch. I don't believe we're going to be hearing from them tonight.
Mr. Chairman, it was my understanding Mr. Gilmartin on your work session on Thursday indicated that the application needs to be renoticed because they only included one tax lot on the first notice, and that will be renoticed for your January meeting, and they have submitted an amended application to accomplish that.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, will you take public comment on Beechwood Latch?
Well, I don't know whether we can or not without them here to respond to any public comment.
You could take comment as long as you keep it open and Mr. Gilmartin has an opportunity. You have something in writing?
No.
All right. We have to do the one decision, and then we'll be down to Beechwood if you want to make some comments on it.
Yes, sir.
It's okay. On the application of 2985, Wickapard Realty, LLC, 54 Lee Avenue, we have a decision.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us down to Beechwood Realty.
Yes, please. Good evening. Kevin McAllister of Defend H2O. I've been following the application, and I'd like to say that it looks favorable with respect to the wastewater treatment. I want to point out and maybe clarify on the discussion on grandfathering. And I know this board has discretion, and ultimately relying on grandfathering with Suffolk County Health Department. They just approved Article 6. So there are criteria for grandfathering. I know a 10% expansion, an increase in flow rate would ultimately avoid any grandfathering provision. But I will emphasize the point that, again, the board has discretion, and we should be striving to, particularly on developments of this scale, to be requiring advanced treatment, these innovative alternative systems. And I know in hearing the project manager, the engineer speak to it, that seems to be the intent. But on one hand, that is demonstrated as the intent, but I'm also hearing that they are grandfathering. So I draw that into question. Again, I think you have a great deal of leverage. Going forward in other developments, this is really an opportunity now with respect to Suffolk County approving these systems in the commercial scale that they should be required. And when they're before you, of course, they're asking for some latitude on the part of the board. This should be just a matter of fact going forward. And I'd like to speak very briefly about Lake Agawam in general. And, having sat in the audience and listened to some of the issues come before you, whether it be incursion into, the buffers, and I know that was a very lengthy discussion on a particular project, but I don't want this board to lose sight of stormwater influences. And you're well aware of, obviously, the discharges into the lake. It's an enormous volume. I would describe it as certainly the elephant in the room. So while we're talking about municipal sewage treatment within the village to arrest nitrogen loads coming into it. Obviously, the protection of buffers around the water body. Stormwater remains, in my opinion, the single greatest threat to water quality, in particular with the sediment loads coming into that system. I know there's 3 studies. We have Dr. Gobler, Lombardo and Associates, and Nelson Pope and Voorhees, and they've certainly all pointed out stormwater as well as the sediment content. And we have muck soils that are constantly releasing nutrients into the water column. We have transport of more nutrients from stormwater. So I'll just leave you with the thought that, ultimately, as we are addressing these projects that come before you, the village as a whole and the town of Southampton, we've got to find a way to step up and start to deal with the real problem here.
I don't think there's going to be any stormwater issue with this project at all.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that. I'm speaking in a holistic term.
Okay.
That I made that clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
But let me ask you a question, please, Mr. McAllister.
Yes.
I'm a little vague on the developers claim they're going through the innovative systems. And of course, we're just a citizen board. We're not sure what all that means right off. But anyway, and now you say they're going to maybe have a hybrid of grandfathering / innovation?
No, that's the category they're calling it, innovative alternative, IA systems.
Yeah.
The county has been well into a pilot program where they are approving these for residential units. They're now moving into the commercial scale. I know there were 4 that were approved. There are now a couple more that may have been approved. So it's a generic term for systems, according to their Article 19 code, must meet the 19 milligrams per liter standard.
That's a definition of innovative?
According to Suffolk counties, yes. And there's certainly variability in the performance on these systems, but that is the standard. And I will point out the county, and this is where I take issue with, Suffolk County's, I'll say, management of their program. They've had systems that have been approved, BioClear, BEST, B-E-S-S-T, nitric system. These systems have been in the marketplace, have been approved by Suffolk County, and are presumably required to achieve the drinking water standard of 10 milligrams per liter. So we are, for some reason, the county is kind of moving away from those systems, moving into this family of the IA systems that for the last couple of years they've been testing and ultimately approving for use.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Pretty good. Just trying to get a handle on all this. I mean, you could call something innovative, and it's not innovative. I mean, it's...
I think it's a bit of a term of art with respect to the systems, and again, that is a program that they set up, innovative alternative IA systems. It is in the marketplace. It is the language that's used.
And it means something.
It does mean something. But where the real standard, I mean, that's the crux of it, is the standard that the county has established, and that's 19 milligrams. And they're suggesting that, upwards of 40, 50, 60 milligrams or even higher for untreated and conventional septic systems. So let's move away from the conventional in these redevelopments that ultimately are requiring board approval, because again, you have the latitude to require this. This should not be a bartering process. This should be coming in the door, and this is what we're going to do, and let's move on to the other issues that you have to address.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Didn't the new code that was passed last week address
Yes,
that
the
issue?
village board adopted a new code. It requires innovative alternative wastewater treatment systems for certain new residential construction within the high and medium priority areas as listed in the town's plans. So that doesn't mean every project, but as Mr. McAllister pointed out, you certainly have discretion as particular projects and the impacts that you have to weigh. In this particular case, this application, the applicant has offered it, notwithstanding it's not required even under our village code, but I think it's being offered because the individual septic systems for the units are being proposed as opposed to one larger system for the entire project. So that I understand is part of the application. I think that was what was being acknowledged by Mr. McAllister, but I think he's trying to take it to the next level on other applications as well.
Excuse me, sir. I was asleep at the wheel there. Concerning the first number, 2978 on the agenda.
Yeah.
This is my third time attending this, waiting for a decision. Can you tell me why there's such a delay?
Why?
Yes, sir.
Because course, we don't have a full board tonight.
Okay, and I'll
With
see you
this
guys
case,
next.
with this application, we want to make sure we have a full board.
Very good. So,
That gives you a hint or anything?
no, that's fine. Thank you. I just needed an explanation, but I'll be here next month, and we'll have a full board.
Unless someone gets sick or something.
All righty. No, we're
Wait, no, we
we're in
won't have a full
construction now, and we like to keep,
We
you know,
won't have a
steady
full
flow.
board next month, but it won't matter.
Okay.
All right,
All right. Thank you very much.
okay.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. Brings us down to 2984, the Mitchell Family Real Estate LP, 180 Great Plains Road.
I understand, this is the matter, the case which required a referral from this board to the Architectural Review Board regarding the section of the code and the historic nature of the premises. The matter was officially referred by this board, and it's to my knowledge, the Architectural Review Board has not prepared an advisory report at the moment, so this matter is being adjourned for
We
all
can
purposes.
hold this one open.
Correct.
Can I have a motion?
I move we hold this one open. Who knew that?
Can I have a second? Is that a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving very rapidly.
Yes.
They've already told me I have to have them out of here by 8:20.
No, the
otherwise there's a penalty.
The over and under is 8:20, and he knew this was adjourned. So
That clock told me it's fast or slow?
it's not right. We have to go by the real time,
Go by
not the
real
clock
time.
time.
That takes us down to the new cases. The first one is 809 on Meadow Lane, LLC, 2986.
Voting last, please. Well, forgive me, I haven't been before you guys.
What is your question?
Oh, if I should be standing at the podium or what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
with everybody.
it's better than sitting. But you should introduce yourself.
Sure. Sean Barron, Sean M. Barron, MS, for the applicant, Robert Fuchs, 809 Meadow Lane, LLC. Hopefully here for a pretty straightforward application to replace the bulkhead. The existing bulkhead of the property went to the DEC and already secured a permit. We originally had applied to replace the whole bulkhead by putting a new bulkhead in front of the existing bulkhead. The DEC balked at that, basically, and didn't see the need for us to do that across the whole frontage of the property.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure, sorry.
Might be helpful if you put a plan on the table, and as you're describing this, because based on the application, there's a portion that you're replacing, and there's a portion where you're putting a new bulkhead in front of the old bulkhead, so it would be helpful to understand all those elements.
And you can pick it up on the camera so we can
Okay.
see it on the screen.
So the bulkhead extends, we can try it from here.
That's fine.
The bulkhead goes from this part of the property on the west, on the east. Like I was saying, initially when we wanted to replace the bulkhead in front of it, DEC said, no, you can only do that over the central portion of the property. So here you see a little double line in front of the old bulkhead. That represents where we're going to be putting a new bulkhead in front of the existing bulkhead. And on these two wings on either side, the distances of which are spelled out in the plans. But over here, we're going to rip out the bulkhead and put a new bulkhead in place. Different in that it's going to be vinyl sheeting instead of the timber sheeting that's there now. Same thing on the other side here. So the central portion will be new bulkhead in front. It's going to be about 23 inches. It's 10 inches worth of piling, 9 inches worth of corrugated bulkheading, and then another 4 inches for the whalers in front for DEC downside. And then, like I said, basically on the other side, it's going to be the same thing, just vinyl sheeting. Some whalers holding it back.
So the old part that is right through the middle, that's going to stay.
Correct.
And you'll go right in front of that.
Correct, yeah, so there's wood deck behind you here, you can see with there's wood decking, there's a pool, the channels there. They don't want it to crumble, you have to peel back a lot of the woodwork, it would be a lot more work to do it that way.
So you will just do that on the wing, so to speak.
The wings will be pulled out and replaced in place with vinyl, and in the center section, we're going to go in front of the existing.
Is there anything else for us?
That's it, unless you guys have any questions.
Do you have any questions?
No. So do you have DEC approval now?
Yes, I had submitted that as part of this application.
There is a copy of the piece on the application.
Sid, did you have anything?
Just, I thought it'd be good if Sean could maybe go through some of the photographs of the site.
Sure.
I'll be honest with you, I think I looked at this a couple of years ago, but I wanted to go out again. And we do want to make sure that with the construction, there won't be any impact to the existing tidal wetlands vegetation. If you could describe how it will be done. I think driving in front is good, but how are you going to get access to the site? Where are you going to stage materials? And then the areas where the bulkhead is being removed, what's actually happening there? Those other segments on the sides of the property.
Sure.
I think that would all be helpful.
I think this nice big stone parking area here is probably going to be good for staging. So that's the northeast quadrant, I would say. I have some pictures here. These are actually from last. But they just show the existing.
You may be able to pick them up on the overhead.
Makes sense to pass that away.
Snow.
You can just see the becoming dilapidated wooden bulkhead.
Is the bulkhead currently functional?
It's currently functional, yeah, but you can see it's getting tired. So near that, which is just a dock.
And is there vegetated tidal wetlands in front of it now, or is it just bay and
It's pretty much,
bars and flats?
in front, it's just water up against the bulkhead. On the easterly side, it's just high water. I think it's just high water on both sides. Any wetland vegetation that's out there is actually below high water mark. It's just, it's alternate flora. It's below high water mark. I imagine, planning that they would come back and attack the bulkhead from behind, not do anything from the seaward side. As much as they can, I know they want to try and use the existing dead men that are in the ground there.
I saw that, yeah. I guess they must be in sufficient condition.
If they are, they're going to try and keep it. No sense ripping it out and replacing it if they don't have to. But where they are, have to replace it, they'll replace it in place in kind. The tie rods all around, I imagine.
The areas where it's being replaced, are they cutting the existing wood, or how are they going to work around the existing bulkhead?
I'm not exactly sure how the contractor would plan to do that. I imagine cutting it flush would be the easier.
Can't pull it out.
Yeah, if you can really knock the fudge, that might take some good equipment, grabs pretty good, but we're going to come back from behind mostly with skid steers and small equipment.
Would you be able to submit just a little methodology, maybe either a stepwise plan or something graphic that would show, how it's going to be built, the staging areas, we said, access. I mean, it looks like there's wood decks and a lot of things to work around. And we just want to make sure that there's no impact beyond the proposed construction areas.
Right, I'd have to contact the contractor to try to provide
I
that.
think that would help.
Yeah, of course.
It's from just the environmental standpoint, obviously it's an existing bulkhead. We understand that the property's in use. Don't want the bulkhead to become non-functional and start to lose sediment, which can impact wetlands as well. So the overall project is fine, but it's a fairly large-scale project, and I think we just want to make sure that it's done thoughtfully with proper protection built in. So, and with that in mind, if we do get something early and the board is comfortable with it, I don't see why there's a potential we could have a decision for next month if you're comfortable with that, and we receive everything a week or two before the work session.
My suggestion is that Mr. Voorhees actually go out to the site as well and inspect, and maybe you meet there with the contractor and you can sort of work out that methodology.
Okay.
First week of the new year? Okay, I left you a message today, give a call, we'll set something up.
Awesome, thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to be heard in this application? No? And I assume we're going to hold this open?
So moved. Keeps our options open.
Yeah, keep.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Great, thank you for your time.
Get me out of here.
Those people who come here a lot, we're thinking of changing the time that we meet. So you might want to check before you come next month. We're going to try to move it up to 6:30. We're the only board that meets this late, so. We've been doing it for a long time, but we said maybe it's time to move it up a little bit. We hope to be 6:30. That brings us down to 2987, Morgan Shara, 38 Harvest Lane.
William Brigo for David and Morgan Sharrow, 38 Harvest Lane, South Campus, New York. Hill Street, New York, office address. Good evening, everyone.
Can you say your name again, please?
William Brigo, G-R-I-G-O.
You an attorney, sir, or?
Yes.
You have a notice?
You, sir, did you submit
have the notice?
Posting, notice affidavit of posting and mailing?
I actually was informed by my office or submitted to you guys before it came onto a Tuesday.
Well, the affidavit of posting would have been submitted today.
They did not give that to me.
I don't see it in the file.
I know it was posted, I don't have it.
Technically, we don't
They did
have,
have a sign down there, I saw that. They did have a sign, but whether they have notified all the neighbors who need to be notified, I don't know.
is there anybody here that is on this application? So there is some people here that want to be heard. I would think it has to be adjourned for all purposes because of lack of jurisdiction.
Okay, understood.
The board would like to hear a brief presentation and let the parties speak while they're here. Up to you.
No.
Unless they want to come back in January.
Well, he's going to have to
It's not fair.
notices at some point, right?
Why is it fair to have arguments when people haven't been noticed?
I'm just trying to accommodate the parties in the audience if they want to be heard.
Perhaps if he gave us a brief description of what the project is, and then we can get some comments from the audience on it. I mean, he's here, and
Yes.
they're here.
Yes, that's all I'm suggesting,
Yeah.
but it
Why don't we do that?
has to be properly noticed.
Right.
What I'm putting in front of you is an existing second floor plan and a proposed second floor plan.
Just have it so it'll be picked up by the camera.
Is it?
That okay, Charlie?
Do we have to get that granular? I mean, can't we just get the concept of the plan and the concept of the objections?
What we have right now, we have
Sir, can we just start with where the property is located and
the property is located on 38 Harvest Lane in Southampton Village. The individual has been in this house, the occupant, for about 5 years now. They are coming for the board for relief. Allow 3,900 square feet. They want a variance to extend the gross floor area to 4,537.74 square feet. What's going on is we have a family of 5, 3 young children, and they occupy the second floor. The children in the bedroom here, the bathroom, master bedroom by the parents. With the acoustics, everything going on with this house, it's very hard for the children, 5, 8, and I believe 2, to get rest in the house. So what they want to do is move the children to a more quieter part of the house on the above the garage. But currently, there's no way to get to the garage. You have to go downstairs to the other end of the hall, to the garage and back up the stairs. So what they would like to do is put a second floor over the existing footprint of the house and extend a little bit over here. And that's why you have this orange outline there. With this, you'll see they'll have an attic space here, which is just used for storage, a proposed sitting area, a small bedroom over here, as well as a bathroom here. So that's the bedroom, as I was saying. They can go pretty much down, they can go right across the hallway and get to the children. Basically, these 2 bedrooms are not adequate with the house being the way it is, the kitchen downstairs, the children hear everything in these bedrooms, and the parents don't feel comfortable about moving the kids from here to here by having to go downstairs in case something happens and come up the stairs. That's a brief description, and I'll bring back more. I only got on this project on Tuesday, so I could use a little more time myself.
Are you going from 3 bedrooms to 5?
No, actually, if we're actually going down, it's we're going down in bedroom size.
You showed 3 on the
I'm sorry.
second floor before.
There was bedrooms in the basement. They're removing those bedrooms. And, hold on. To implement this addition, the applicant is proposing the removal of 2 existing basement bedrooms residing in the 8-bedroom house being reduced, 8-bedroom house being reduced to a 7-bedroom house. So we're going to go down 1 bed.
So you would say the problem here is self-imposed, I suppose, because it's an acoustic problem, meaning someone's making noise. Who's making the noise, the kids or the parents?
Well, basically, it is an acoustic problem. It's not really self-imposed. It's basically like kids go to sleep early, wake up later than the rest of the household. Adults stay up longer.
I would recommend, board members, that council will need opportunity to look at the legal test and go back and consider that. And I think you got a notion of what the application is about. And before we go too far into it, maybe you want to hear from the neighbors and then adjourn this until proper notice. And then I would suggest council look at the legal test that this board has to apply and make sure that you address all the standards.
Will do, Judge. I will do. Great. Thank you.
Promote us?
I stopped myself, sure.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard to this application?
Mark Eppley, 158 Harvest Lane. Actually, saw the notice posted in front of the house. So it's a half-acre piece of property. They have currently 8 bedrooms. They want to go to 9 bedrooms. And what they're asking for is a 589.74 square foot increase over the allowable GFA. I'm a property rights guy, but that's a 14.9% excess. So they are also the only house in my neighborhood that has gates at their driveway, and the inadequate parking on site for the 8, potentially 9 bedrooms. I also looked at the file, and I couldn't see any approval from the Department of Health when it came to the 8 bedrooms that they have. Now they're going to go to 9 bedrooms. So, so I'm concerned about the application. I've got a letter here to state that my concern is if everybody exceeded GFA by 14.9%. So it's a pretty good GFA, I think so. So I'll submit the letter, and thank you for the opportunity to provide comments.
Mark, the only question I have is where's your property in relationship to this property?
I'm on the other side of the neighborhood.
Around the corner.
So, around the corner.
Okay.
The other end of Harvest Lane, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I would recommend that this be adjourned for all purposes, primarily for the applicant to provide proper notice. It should be reposted and remailed.
It might need somebody from the Board of Health, too, and we have to address the parking.
Exactly. I think that the applicant may have heard some of the issues that were raised by the board. It would be proper for the applicant to not only address those issues as well as addressing the legal test that this board has to apply.
Is there anybody else in the public who would like to hear this application? Therefore, I suggest we hold it open for all purposes.
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Although how can you adjourn it if you didn't?
That brings us down to 2988 Clea LLC, 145 Lee Avenue. That mail was ever recorded.
No, I don't think so. Okay, see.
No, you just got it. For the applicant.
Good evening, Melissa Dedovich, Platonic Environmental Associates. I'm here on behalf of Clea LLC. I'm accompanied by Lisa Zaloga, the architect of record. And we're here to request relief for the installation of a pool house. I'm going to have to move over here. I did get the chance to look at some of the comments made during the work session, and one in particular was, why is the pool house sited where it is? The existing house is a pre-existing non-conforming house. The pool is there. It's okay. Presently, when I first was hired by the clients, we had the wetlands flagged by Mr. Voorhees in 2016. At that time, and I have a letter to that effect. And I can give this up if you need it, but I could read into the record. Diane, the wetlands at 145 Lee Avenue were flagged on Thursday, May 26th by Nelson Pope and Voorhees, the village environmental consultant. There were 6 pink ribbons placed along the landward extent of the wetlands. There's also a series of man-made ponds on the site. These are addressed in Article 3A, Chapter 116, ponds greater than 1,000 square feet of the village code, but I understand from John Foster that the village has not regulated man-made artificially lined ponds in practice. The applicant for the building inspector should provide the information that these are indeed man-made artificially lined ponds. So I also have a letter from a prior project that I had done that was also in front of this board with Gil Flanagan, 50 Wyandanch Lane, where Mr. Foster at the end said, in my experience, the village of Southampton has not regulated man-made artificially lined ponds under the chapter. Given the history and nature of these ponds, I would not consider them to be regulated under village wetlands regulations. For the record, here is a letter and photographs from Michael Donnellan, who's a landscape designer from Summerhill Landscape. He actually was hired by the current property owner when she purchased the property in 2015. At that time, and I have a survey to that effect also, and I can hand that in, a survey from 2012 actually, that shows that they were man-made ponds. Mr. Donnelly confirms that I am personally familiar with the 3 existing man-made ponds present on the above-cited property. Our office assisted with the current property owner with establishing the plantings that currently encompass the ponds, as well as with the maintenance of the ponds themselves. I know from this personal experience that they were artificially created and installed with a rubber liner, as is evidenced by the attached photographs. And on the photographs attached, you can see clearly that the ponds are and have been rubber lined. So
Wouldn't that weigh against this location that you're proposing?
correct. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that weigh against this location that you're proposing?
No, actually, if they were regulated wetlands, yes.
No, just the opposite. If they were wetlands, you couldn't put the pool house in front of a house. But they're not wetlands, so you can put the pool house in front of the house.
Like, it's close.
You put the pool house between the pool.
Oh, well, okay,
Creek.
the reason why, all right, first of all, the reason why the pool house is where it is we're trying to keep, all right, a couple things. If we were to put the pool house in between the pool and the house,
No, I
then
didn't say between the pool and the house, on the other side of the pool.
between the pool and the ponds.
Between the pool
Right
and
here.
the creek, yeah.
Right. The reason why we can't do that is if we did that, we couldn't get the septic system to meet the 200-foot wetlands requirement setback. Right now, with the pool house where it is, a portion, and Lisa will get into this, a portion of the pre-existing house has a crawl space. So what we've done, so I'm going back now. We had Mr. Voorhees flag the wetlands. Then Lisa was working with the client for the location of the pool house. At this time, we also hired Norsec because we were like, well, where is the existing septic system? We should take a look at that. When we had Norsec take a look at the septic system, of course, it's undersized, it's not health department compliant. So we proceeded to work with Squires and Holden to upgrade the septic system, or at least design an upgrade. And we decided at that time if we could put the pool house and put it into the house and over, then we wouldn't have to put a separate septic system for the pool house. So if we were to put the pool house in between the artificial ponds and the pool, we would have to put a second septic system, which would not meet the 200-foot required setback for wetlands.
Where are you planning to put the new septic system?
Actually, the pool house is going to go right into, it's going to pipe right, and it's shown right here, pipes right into the house and into the proposed new septic system for the house.
On the street side of the house?
Yeah, right
On
here.
the street side of the house?
Correct, right here. So this is the proposed new septic system that's going to service the house and the pool house.
And the pool house?
Correct. If we were to put a pool house over here, we wouldn't be able to do that because a septic system has to be 20 feet from the pool. So there's both a 200-foot, we could not meet, because right now the pool house itself is at 195 feet. We couldn't meet the 200-foot required setback for a sanitary system from the wetlands, and we would have a difficult time meeting the 20-foot
Doesn't it
setback.
just mean you need a longer line?
You also can't, you can't turn a septic system without having cleanouts coming up to grade. It gets much more complicated and convoluted, and it tends to back up and not work as well when you turn.
And the line would have to be 20 feet from the swimming pool.
So you
you're
have to
still
go
talking-
around the pool and around the house.
Possibly do an injector pump.
You also
and
would
everything.
have distance. As you get away from the pool house, you drop down, so we would be getting closer to groundwater. The further the pool house, the further it gets west. So it kind of.
There's another option, just don't have a pool house. You've got a house, you've got a pool. Not every property can handle all three.
Well, if we could, well, just so we could finish, we do have a letter of non-jurisdiction from the DEC, which I could submit also. We also have, and I actually, Mrs. Logan will go over this, we also have an aerial that shows what the pool house relation would be to the house next door, as well as letter support actually from the neighbor, the most directly affected neighbor, who actually is in support of this because they would like to have the pool house, because the pool house is actually going to be located where the existing pool equipment is, and the pool equipment would be moved into the crawl space below the pool house. And they also feel that the pool house will block the noise from the existing swimming pool area, so that actually gives them a buffer.
That's the property to the north.
Yes, we have a letter from William McClanahan that says, I am the owner of 131 Lee Avenue in the Village of Southampton. It is my understanding that my neighbor, Clea LLC of 145 Lee Avenue in the Village of Southampton, is applying to the village's ZBA for a variance for relief of required setbacks. I have reviewed our neighbor's pool house plans and their survey. I have also spoken with Clea's architect concerning their application. I have no objection to Clea's application for a variance.
Just so you know what happened with that, I met with them, I walked them through the project. At the time, we had windows on the back side of the pool house. They asked me if I could remove the windows on the back side of the pool house. We did that. They're very happy with the idea that this will block the noise, because not only is the pool equipment here, but also the pond equipment is over here as well, and the pond equipment runs more often and is loud. So they have, their house is kind of set, their house is kind of a long, narrow house that runs that length. So they actually have a sitting area, outside seating area out over here. They're thrilled with the concept that this will block the noise, not only of the pool equipment, but of the people in the pool.
Aren't you still going to have to make a turn in this waistline?
No, it's going to come in, it's going to come into the house at an angle, and then in the house, it's allowed to make a turn. In the house, you can turn, because you can get to
So
it.
it's going to come into the house.
It's going to come into the house.
Into the
It's gonna
crawl
come
space.
into the crawl space of the house.
Could still do that if it was on the other side of the pool, right?
Actually, there's no crawl space on the other side of the pool. You want to show what section doesn't have crawl space?
Yeah, over here, I don't have a crawl space to get through. Over here, I have a crawl space.
Where is its crawl space? On the north side of the house?
The crawl space is on the north side of the house and on the west side of the garage. There's a garage that is on the east side facing the driveway. And then in the back half, there's a crawl space. And right in the middle of the house, there's a teeny tiny basement. And then that's it, it stops. And so my pool house would actually, the pipes would come into the house, and then we would be able to turn and do what we have to do to get to the front of the house, where it would then leave the house and it would go out to the new septic system.
I have a copy of the C of O that confirms it's a pre-existing house. It's been a cobbled together house over the years. I mean, pre-existing zoning, it's had some additions over the years. That's why a section of it doesn't have a crawl space.
Yeah, it's been renovated and modified. It's got several levels. It's a little
Melissa,
weird.
you had mentioned before that it's non-conforming. How is it non-conforming?
Actually, I misspoke. It's pre-existing. Pre-existing, thank you.
But if you were to put the pool house on the other side of the pool, Melissa's right, you'd have to keep the pipes, would have to be 20 feet from the pool. So in terms of trying to get around that, you would really be going out of your way to kind of come back and connect.
And you move it a little bit to the south. I mean, you're asking for a pretty large variance, pretty substantial. It's supposed to be 35, and they're asking for 20. That's not quite 50%, but you're getting up in that neighborhood.
Yeah, all right, so if you look at the survey, you can see we're kind of, the way the house is situated, it kind of comes and it jigs and it jogs a little bit on that whole northwest end. So we jogged the pool house to kind of accommodate that. If I start to move further south, I really pinch the two, and I have to be at least 5 feet away from the house in order to be considered a separate detached building.
Maybe if you made it smaller. Make it smaller and then move it a little bit south.
I understand.
I understand, yeah.
I understand.
The variance.
I understand.
Is there a floor plan of the proposed structure?
Yes, right here.
Was that submitted?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, we submitted.
Oh, yes, we did submit.
I have more.
Yes, I did submit. The only thing we didn't submit was actually.
I only see elevations in the package. so-
Here we have extra ones. Here we go.
Where is the pond equipment located?
It's over there
It's with the pool
in the
equipment.
pool, and it's underneath where the proposed pool house is currently. It's with the pool equipment. I did do this site section here showing you that there are 15.5-foot high hedges on the property line, and that the McClanahan residence is about 40, it's angled on the property, so it's like 40 to 46 feet away. And somebody standing at the house looking over the hedge would never see this structure.
And that's on the first page, the pictures that we provided to you also, you could see.
Page 3 is the site section. You can see it's well away from the pyramid law, and from a visual standpoint, it wouldn't be seen.
I mean, if you took off that spot to the south, just ran the line straight across, you'd still have a bathroom, you'd still have a laundry, you'd still have a closet, you'd still have a changing room, and you still have a sitting room. I don't know what all this in
If I
front is
took it, you mean
for.
if I made this,
You just made it the rectangle,
Made it thinner.
without that jog and...
right, but that pulls it away from the pool. What you're trying to do is push
Then
it
you move
south.
it toward the pool.
Right, but the laundry room is what actually then is going to get close and hit. It's not the size of that sitting room per se that's the issue. It's the bump out where the laundry room is that's the issue, and trying to keep it a symmetrical building with the bathroom and the laundry room. So by pushing it south, it doesn't really have anything to do with the size of the sitting room. It has to do with the size of the laundry room, the size of the little wing gets too close to the main house.
Move it west and south. What's wrong with moving it west and south a little bit?
She's trying to keep it centered on the
Trying to keep it
pool.
symmetrical on the pool.
Centered on the pool. Symmetry.
I'm an architect, that's what I do.
Like, that's the visual, you know?
Composition, little offsets and stuff.
I'm not seeing that. There's actually also some specimen trees down here that we were trying to avoid, but that's another conversation.
Can you take us through why it can't go on the south side?
It can't go because we have a difficulty, we can't run the septic system there's no crawl space in there. So we would actually, if we put on the south side, have to put a separate septic system, which wouldn't make the 200-foot setback from the wetlands. The other issue is that there is a specimen tree over there that we would rather not, and I think it's shown actually, we have a picture. If you look on page 2 of the photographs, there's a tree right here. And actually, if you can see too, there's much less hedging. The house itself, actually, if you look at it on the south side, the house right now is at 34.7 feet. So even at the southern location, it wouldn't meet the 35-foot setback. Either side would require relief.
From my standpoint with that, the kitchen and the public spaces are also on this side of the house, and this is all bedrooms.
North side.
On the north side.
So you want the
house.
kitchen, the pool house, and that's where the
bedrooms are on the other side. So yeah, and the parking is over there for access.
And putting the pool equipment underneath, you can actually, that's where you can go service it and everything too. So everything is serviced and everything over here.
And that's where the existing pool equipment is also. So to put it underneath and get the noise reduction, it makes sense to put it on the north side as opposed to the south side.
So how large is the existing house? The house itself?
4,212 lot coverage.
Coverage, yeah.
Lot coverage.
It's an odd house. The whole middle section is 1 story. I know it says 2-story, but this whole middle section is 1 story. Oh, it's very difficult. You go up kind of to a half level because that middle section, the middle section of the house, when they did the renovation, they left the cathedral ceiling in the middle section. So you kind of go up the stairs on this end, and I think there's 1 bedroom there, and then you kind of travel up more stairs to get on top of that room to get to the other end. It's a very odd.
It's an odd house.
Odd house. But it's not a full it's not a full 2-story house. It's the second floor is only partial.
Again, when we did the NORSIC report, it's a pre-existing house. The current septic, I believe, is only 2 cesspools. So it's pretty old.
What's going to happen to it? What kind of a system are we going to put in?
We're actually putting in a standard system. It's going to be but it's going to be a new upgraded system. It's going to be beyond the 200-foot jurisdiction, and we're right now in front of the health department getting our approvals for that.
this work, Wayne, would not come under the new code?
No, you have that discretion to mitigate impacts if you so choose.
Well, it is 8 bedrooms.
The new system is going to be over 300 feet, I think 333 feet from the wetlands. And will actually, the current system, I mean, right now does not even have a tank. This will be all upgraded.
Well, it'll still be essentially the same older type of system.
Correct.
It's not going to be the news innovative, like we were hearing earlier.
Sort of the retro unit. It's a retro unit.
Well,
It's not retro yet.
not yet.
It's current now.
I mean, I'll be honest, I went in front of the trustees to explain that this project has been going on now for over 2 years. Because as we've been, we had the wetlands flagged, and then when we started developing it, we did the NORSIC report, and then we had to design the system. And where the system is set, actually, we went out and checked where the specimen trees were that have been there for a while, and that she actually has installed. So that system is exactly the only spot of lawn that we have in the front yard area. So it took a lot of planning, and then, like I said, the awkward nature of the house, trying to figure out how we can make this work. And I think the idea of not having any kind of cesspool or separate septic system associated with the pool house, I mean, we're not required. If we were to do nothing, we would have 2 cesspools sitting there. I mean, we're trying, so what we thought it would be, and this is before the new law, Mr. Bruin and I talked about, before the new law was enacted, we're like, hey, let's do the right thing, let's upgrade the whole septic system, and then we'll just have the pool house go to it. Next thing you know, there's a draft legislation on this, but we've been working on this for about 2 years.
And the neighbor is thrilled, I swear.
Well, yeah, he's...
Okay. So what's the need for the pool house?
That's a good question.
The typical need for a pool house, having some place where they can go out, be out there. She likes to entertain with a table and chairs and things like that. But again, people don't want to be under the sun, so she wanted to be able to entertain out there.
That and the children. She wanted a place for the kids to play outside. She likes that they have a place near the pool. And I think the laundry room is because you got the pool, you do the towels and everything right there.
What would be a conforming location?
In the pool almost. It would be 35 feet. So right now the current house is 35, pretty much rounding up, 35 on each side is what the house itself is. So you would have, the pool house would actually be in the pool.
Well, if it's to the west of the pool, wouldn't that be a conforming location?
You mean?
No, but then we'd have the issue with the septic system.
I know, I'm just
Yeah.
talking about a conforming location. Would that be a conforming location?
From a zoning perspective, yes, but then the septic system, if we had, I don't even know if, I'd have to talk to an engineer if we could even get it plumbed over to meet, if it's too much of a run, to meet to the septic system up here. So if we'd have to do a separate dedicated septic system, it would be within the 200 foot, we'd be coming back for a variance for wetlands relief.
Do you have any idea what the difference in cost would be between this system and an IA system?
$10,000, $10,000 to $15,000.
A bag of shells.
Actually, a system like, let me see, a standard system, I'm trying to remember, it's about $3,000 to $5,000. And this, for the same system, this is what I've heard, would be about $15,000 to $20,000. So I don't know how much for a system of this size, but for a standard 3 to 4 bedroom house, I know it's up to $20,000.
And if you use the old system, it's only about $3,000?
Probably
3 to 5. Well, the bigger, no, concrete?
I had one done about 2 years ago, and it was more than $3,000.
Usually it's about 5.
My godfather did it.
Your godfather?
My godson did it. Still charging more than $3,000.
I think she could talk to him.
I thought I did. Boy, what do you use?
Godfather? Again, just your site section, the neighbors will not see it, and they are extremely happy with it. They want it in that location. because it will cut down on their noise.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
What's the square footage of the pool house?
It's about 600, did you put it on here? 699 square feet.
What's the maximum?
800.
Height's okay, right? 16?
Yep. Yeah, and you can see also on the elevations, we gave you a distance. You know, the ridge is actually 31, almost 31. It's 30 foot 10. The ridge is actually 30 foot 10 from the property line, which is the highest point. It comes down, you know, to a typical, 9 or 10 foot high plate height on the side. So we turned the ridge so it's parallel to the hedge, you know, so it's going away from the property line.
And no windows on this side.
No windows on that side, and then the two side wings are even lower. They're only 12 foot 3. So the majority of it is less than 16 feet.
So it complies with pyramid.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You can see the pyramid line on here.
It's shown
And it's
on
actually on both on the elevation as well as on the side section.
Okay, yeah. I see.
Well away.
Well away.
You have anything, Wayne?
Just what I'm hearing the board question the applicants, that part of the legal test, as you know, is that the board has to make sure it makes a finding that they've granted the minimum variance necessary and that there's no reasonable alternatives that would either eliminate or mitigate the variance. I think there needs to be some additional analysis of the alternative locations that may be a conforming location. You may want to compare it and indicate perhaps the discussion, you're indicating that the septic is a rationale as to why the pool house cannot be located in a conforming location. Certainly, you might want to have your engineers explain and look at that alternative so that this board has that information. I note that there are several large specimen trees on the property. There may be in that location, I can't tell, but that may be a factor as well. You may want to look at, but I think certainly you want to go back and do that evaluation so this board can easily look at the record and be able to compare what would be a structure in a conforming location. That relates to also the configuration of the structure. I think what you heard from the board is that maybe the configuration doesn't have to be as what was proposed here, but it could be in a different configuration with a greater setback. I think the amount of the relief is substantial under the circumstances, but that could be mitigated if the board finds that there are no other reasonable alternatives. So I think you need to go back and really evaluate that and provide that board with that information.
So can we agree that, so the one we would look into that's conforming, the only one would be this one, would be right here?
Well,
Because you can't-
I would suggest you look at the entire property and look at what the conforming location is, and then indicate how you have discounted each one of those locations if they are being discounted. So, for example, I heard the board talk about something on the south. So you explained some elements. It would be good to have that documented.
You know, if you took off those two wings and then moved it closer to the pool a little bit, then those wings would not be interfering with anything on the house. In other words, you just have this central portion, not the two wings, and you could fit the bathroom and the laundry room into that part of it, into the main part of it, without the two side wings. It's the side wing, especially the one toward the west, which seems to interfere with the house.
East.
To the east, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I can certainly look at it, you know, the goal, of course, you know, was to get a square room for them. So pushing those into it really will kind of give me probably about looks like about 10 foot 7 by 20 foot room, which is a little odd pushing the bathroom and the laundry into the building will give me that front portion then, so I would get about 10 foot 7 by 20 feet of rooms.
Just gonna be
You
useful.
know, like, that's a little hard to eat in.
Just a sitting room is all it's going to be.
Yeah, she was trying to get a dining table too, but I'll look at it. Okay.
They don't eat in the house?
Who eats in the house in the summer?
Maybe they could do the laundry in the house.
That's crazy talk.
Again, remember the architect, the symmetry, you know. Okay, I can look at it.
Do you have anything, Chick?
No, but I can confirm what Melissa said. I do recall now the conversation with John Foster in the email that I provided when we flagged the wetlands with the 6 flag, it did not include the artificial pond.
I know it's been a while. It took us this long to get here.
Do you have anybody from the public who'd like to hear of this application?
Oh, something to say too. I must say that given the developments and the new law, I am interested in the IA systems. In a setting like this, there's the water right there. We got 8 bedrooms, you're adding another bathroom use. Seems like a good spot to do it. That's my opinion. We'll see.
All right, so we're going to hold this open for all purposes.
So moved.
You have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Merry
It's 3:20, but it's close.
All right.
It was so, I think,
Imagine if you
so
started
close.
at 6:30? Wow.
Well, I decided.
So close.
I started to string it out.
I think Matt was stringing it out.
He didn't have to ask that question.
We're going to open Jim's wine soon.
What Rob won't do to win.
Right.
Maybe I ought to start,
Win at all costs.
$5 on it, kind of thing.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Did you adjourn the meeting? Did you?
This meeting, the December 2017 meeting of the Southfield Village Zoning Board of Appeals is closed.